Welcome to Databricks DBT Labs and Sigma demo. In this demo, we'll be loading some sample retail customers and orders data into Databricks. Then we'll transform this data using DBT Cloud to create a fact table. And we will then use Sigma to analyze this data and create a dashboard. Let's first go ahead and create a Databricks trial. We'll sign up for it. All right. So you have to go to signup.databricks.com and you can click on Get Started for free, use the Express setup, and type in an email address, and you will receive a verification code. And once you enter that, you'll be in a new Databricks environment created just for you. I'll go ahead and create that. You do the same. Okay. Once you sign up for the new Databricks trial, you're going to land into this workspace, a new workspace that's created for you that looks like this. So for today's demo, we're only going to be using the SQL section of this workspace. Feel free to explore the other options, in your trial. But yeah, let's go ahead and create some load some sample data into Databricks. Actually, before that, let's get into this SQL warehouses section here. And you can see that there is a serverless SQL warehouse that's already created for you, which is that's the compute that we're going to be using to run these queries, okay? The SQL statements. So let's go ahead and copy this over. I have some statements to run here. Let me just go ahead and kick it off. Okay, while that's running, I wanted to let you know what I'm doing here. So we're creating three catalogs: raw, development, and production. We're going to be using these catalogs as part of the DBT Cloud for transformation, on DBT Cloud. And then we are also providing some privileges to these catalogs and schemas. And we are creating some new tables here. You can see customers and sales orders, and we're loading data from Databricks data sets. These are data sets that are available out of the box. We are loading those sample data sets into these tables. Okay, now that looks like the query is query ran successfully. Okay, let's go ahead and look at query history here. Okay, so you can see here that whatever queries that we ran, you'll be able to find it here. And with query history, you could explore something called query profile, where you can dive deep into the query plan and go into each step of how the query is executing. And this really helps to troubleshoot things and performance optimize things if necessary. Okay, and you can also see, this query has been executed by the user and is using this serverless warehouse compute that I showed just before. And it lets you know the duration of the run, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's the query history. Now let's actually go ahead and explore the catalog. This is the Unity catalog. This is how it looks. So we went ahead and created some sample data in raw. So as you can see, there are three catalogs: raw, development, and production created. And inside the raw catalog, in the default schema, sorry, not the default schema, the retail schema, you'll be able to find two tables that are created. One is the customers and other one is the sales orders. You could definitely click on that, explore, and these are all the different options our catalog provides. You can even create AI suggested descriptions like this. Yeah, this looks good. Let me just go ahead and accept it. And that'll be the description for the table. You can also do the same for the for the columns. You can AI generate all the comments and stuff for the columns. And you can explore, let's say, the sample data that's in the customers table here, and all the details of where this table is, and the size and stuff like that. For permissions, you can just go ahead and grant different, whatever access you need. This is how it looks. If you have additional account users, you can search for those principals and then, provide the, access necessary. And of course, there's also history on what happened so far with this table, and then you got other stuff like lineage, etc. Based on the queries that ran. As you can see, these queries that executed used this customer table, so that's why you see it here. You can also see it in a lineage graph. This is how it looks. Let's say this table is used downstream with some other views or functions, etc. All of that will show up on the lineage. Doesn't matter if it's SQL, Python, or Scala. It will show up on our lineage. That's really unique to Databricks. Okay, so that's basically at a high level what the catalog looks like, and the data sets that we created. Now, let's jump into Partner Connect, which is where we're going to be signing up for DBT Cloud trial. So click on the DBT tile. You could also search it here, DBT, as you can see. Once you click on it, select the development catalog and click Next. And you can see a SQL warehouse is automatically picked for you. You can add the schema default here. Okay, and then click Next. And as you can see, these are privileges that are needed, and it's going to be, a new service principal is going to be created as part of the Partner Connect flow. And there's a personal access token that will be generated. That way, DBT Cloud can, access these data sets within Databricks and transform them. This is all the information that is going to send to DBT Cloud through the Partner Connect flow. Once you click on Connect to DBT Cloud, it will take us to a sign-up page for a DBT Cloud trial. And this is where you create your account. And once the account is created, again, very similar to the Databricks trial, you will be able to see a DBT environment set up just for you. But the good part is, within that environment, there is already an existing connection to your Databricks workspace that you click through the Partner Connect flow. And it's already ready and set up for you. So you can, work on the transformations, create DBT models and stuff. All right, thanks.
Now that you've seen how we can quickly and easily create a trial account of DBT Cloud directly from Databricks Partner Connect, let's hop into DBT Cloud and take a look at how we can start to develop and test data pipelines. The first thing I'll want to do from our DBT Cloud interface is click into our Develop tab and open our cloud-based IDE. From here, the first thing we'll want to do is use our Git integration in the top right. This is going to be our one-stop shop for interacting with version control. As this is a new DBT project, the first thing I'll need to do is initialize the structure so DBT can find all of the files it's expecting. Hitting that project initialization will create some of the foundational configuration files we need, such as this dbt project.yml, as well as creating the folder hierarchy that we'll use to organize our transformation logic going forward. Clicking into models, we'll find a couple of simple example DBT models that we can use to quickly test our connection to Databricks. Opening these up, you'll see the simple declarative style that DBT transformation is written in. In this instance, we're just describing the shape of the data we want and letting DBT handle how this should be materialized. First, I'll preview this model just to make sure that the code itself is running. And then I'll go ahead and hit run. This will take this code and actually execute it against Databricks. We can see here that run was successful, meaning that we're able to connect and run this SQL directly against that Databricks instance we just spun up. Now I'm going to hop ahead a little bit and pull down some pre-written code that will help us walk through the data modeling techniques used within DBT. Now that we've pulled in some code I wrote previously, which we'll make available after this demo for anybody that wants to walk through it in more detail, I want to highlight some of the features and functionalities of this DBT project. The first thing I want to do is hop into some of the key configuration files that DBT uses. The first is this DBT Project.yml. This file will allow us to control a lot of the configuration options for the models that we're writing in DBT. This is a key advantage of working with DBT, as we separate the type of code that builds or describes the data we want from the code that will control how these objects are materialized. And this is a key to letting users of DBT focus on what they do best: writing transformations and working with data. The next key piece of configuration to start working with DBT is this packages file. This packages file allows us to specify and pull in pre-written packages, which are similar to libraries from other programming languages. These packages allow us to use pre-built functions and functionality right out of the box with DBT. Now, there's two packages for this project I know I want to use: our DBT utils and our Spark utils, which will provide a lot of good functionality I'll use throughout the data modeling project. There are dozens, if not hundreds more of these packages. So as you start your journey with DBT, I'd encourage you to dive in here, as it can really help bootstrap a lot of your data modeling and data projects. The first thing to do this is going to be defining where our source data lives. So I'll hop into my DBT models folder, which contains all of our transformation logic. And within there, we'll hop into staging, as we're looking at our source data and the lightweight staging models that we'll use to transform and sanitize that source data. Let's first start with this source.yml file. This is where we're going to define the locations within Databricks where our raw data will live. In this instance, I'm going to give this data set a name, retail. We'll use this to refer back to this data source throughout our DBT modeling. That name will be associated with a specific database, schema, and the tables within that schema. By doing this, I can start to refer to this data source through this DBT source function instead of with raw references to the data. This makes our code much more portable as we move it up from a development to a QA and eventually to run in production. We can do all of this without making any substitutions to the actual text of our transformation code. Now that we've defined these data sources, let's start to make some staging models on top of them. Staging models are the first step within a DBT project. This is where we'll take that source data and start to transform it. You can see within this model, we're going to rename some columns, recast data types, as well as remove any deduped or null values from our data set. This type of cleansing of our data is the type of transformation that we'd expect to find within the staging layer of our DBT project. Importantly, you can see how we use this source function to refer to that retail raw data we just defined without having to hard code references to the schema, database, or tables themselves. Down along the bottom, we can see how DBT is already starting to build out our DAG, or the graph of these data pipelines, simply because we're using these inbuilt source and reference functions within DBT. With this model written, Let's go ahead and hit preview so we can get a sense of, one, if this code will execute, and two, if it's returning the type of data we'd expect. So far in here, everything looks correct. So let's go ahead and run this model, which will actually materialize it within our Databricks instance. Clicking down into our run records, we can look at the exact details of what ran against Databricks and pull out the specific DDL or DML that we should see within the Databricks query logs as well. Now that we've ran this staging model, let's take a look at how we can add tests to some of these columns within DBT, setting the stage for strong, resilient data pipelines right from the start. Similar to other types of configuration we've seen within DBT, our data tests will be configured within these YML files. In this instance, I'm going to refer to the specific models we've built. For example, this STG retail customers model we were just looking at, and I'll specify specific columns and the types of tests I want applied to each of these columns. In this instance, we can see that we're using our customer ID key as a primary key, and so we want to make sure that that field is both unique and not null. In addition to these generic tests which ship out of the box with DBT, we also provide a flexible testing framework where you can write any type of test you want, as long as it can be written in SQL, and these tests will be executed as part of your DBT pipeline. As an example, I might want to write an aggregated test against this retail customer table to make sure that the sum of any individual customer order is always greater than or equal to 0. Now that we've applied some tests to this model, let's take a look at this DBT build command. This will both run or materialize this model, as well as any of the associated data quality tests with it. Now that our build's successful, we can take a look at our run results and see not just that this model built correctly, but also that that not null and unique test was run against that customer ID field. Should any of these tests be violated, DBT will stop running that pipeline and roll back the results, meaning that you can always guarantee high quality, resilient data is available for the people who need it. Now that I've been able to build and test the staging model, let's take a look at how we can start to join these various staging models and build larger, more meaningful analytic structures on top of them. To do this, I'll hop into this Marts folder, as this is how we've organized models within my organization. Within this core folder is where I know I can find any of our main fact tables for this project. Opening up fact customers, you can see at the top how we're able to refer back to that previous staging model. Similar to our source function, this means we don't have to hard code exactly what object we're referring to, and rather we can let DBT compile and interpret that information based on the environment and the commands I've issued to DBT. In this case, since I'm working in development, you can see it's pulling that data from this raw DBT layout schema. Again, we can apply tests directly to this fact table while we build it, continuing that foundation of data quality throughout our DBT pipelines. DBT will also keep track of the lineage, so I can very quickly refresh both this fact table and any of the models up or downstream. This means that I can ensure consistent data quality and fresh data as often as people need it, while still being mindful of not running up waste within our warehouse, as we're only running those models which are needed to refresh the fact tables in question. We've just seen how DBT can help you quickly stage new source data and build fact tables on top of those staging models with ease, all while ensuring consistent quality data at every step of your data pipeline. And this is very crucial for the type of collaboration we're talking about today, In just a few moments, I'll hand it off to Mitch and Sully to show you how they can take these fact tables and quickly analyze them within Sigma. But this type of collaboration also extends upstream, as any of the models we've written today will be executed against Databricks as any other SQL query, meaning that any existing workflow or framework we have for monitoring cost or quality, DBT will plug directly into. And what's even better is all of the metadata generated by this DBT project will integrate directly with Unity Catalog, meaning that there's no extra steps to manage all of these new objects outside of Databricks.
Thanks, Luis. Appreciate you walking us through DBT and how the DBT Partner Connect flow works. My name is Mitch with Sigma Computing, and from here, we're actually going to step back into our Databricks environment and show how we can spin up Sigma to analyze our data that's running through our DBT pipelines from Databricks. So let me go ahead. I'll pull my face out of the frame here, and what we're going to do is actually go to our Databricks trial environment. We'll navigate back to our catalog, and we can see where this DBT data is actually stored. So as we navigate to our catalog, if we go to production here, we'll see that we have our DBT Partner Connect schema here, and we have our fact customer. So this is the same data that we were actually looking at within DBT. One thing to point out here is the actual descriptions and metadata that Luis was talking about. So all of this is actually able to be passed through Databricks into Sigma to be able to analyze this further. Sigma is a BI and analytics platform that allows non-technical and business users to interact with data at Databricks scale that they would traditionally not have access to. So if we actually look at our sample data here, we can see all of the data that Luis previously produced through our DBT pipeline and start to be able to analyze this within a spreadsheet within Sigma. So from here, I'm actually going to navigate down to Partner Connect. We'll go ahead and select this. And then what we want to actually choose, if we scroll down here, is Sigma under BI and visualization. We're going to go ahead and set this up with our production catalog. So we'll hit next here. We're going to use the SQL warehouse. So we can see we have a serverless SQL warehouse that's already been spun up within our Databricks trial environment. This is going to be used to actually interact with our data. Sigma is a live BI and analytics platform, so everything that you see within Sigma is live in real time against your Databricks data. We'll then choose which catalog and schema we want this to default to within Sigma. So I'll go ahead and hit add here. We'll hit next. And then what's going to happen on the back end is we'll actually generate a personal access token so that you can connect to Databricks. I'll hit next. And we can actually see those connection details here if we click the drop down. So here you can see the user principal that gets created, and then all of the credentials that need to be generated to create the connection. So we'll go ahead and connect to Sigma Computing. This is going to take us to our trial page here. So from here, we'll actually be able to spin up a new trial. So I'm just going to call this webinar for Foundry. We'll go ahead and hit continue. I'm going to apply a strong password. And as we create this, this will bring us into our Sigma environment, and we can begin to interact with that DBT data that we were looking at previously within a spreadsheet UI. So we'll go to our Databricks connection. You can see I have access to all of the catalogs that I would traditionally within Databricks. This looks very similar to the Databricks Data Explorer. If I click the drop down here on production, we'll navigate back to our DBT Partner Connect data. Again, this is live against Databricks in real time, so we fired off a quick query to bring this data back. You can see we have 100 rows of data, there's 9 columns of data, and then additionally, all of those column descriptions that we were able to generate within Databricks are passed through to Sigma. This is beneficial. Folks that might not necessarily be interacting with Databricks and understanding this data, they can start to get an understanding of what is contained within this data set and what all of these different columns represent. Additionally, we can build metrics. So say we had some metrics that we wanted to build on this table that we wanted to be able to be used by multiple workbooks. We could actually build that here and add additional metrics. And then as we begin to build and develop further, we could actually see all the lineage. So all of the workbooks that get produced from Sigma on this data set, you'd be able to see those here as well. We'll go ahead and step into this data and explore it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit explore. This brings us into our spreadsheet type UI. being able to have data at Databricks scale, but then have folks that aren't traditionally familiar with data languages like Python, SQL, R, Scala can actually go in and interact with this. And what we're doing underneath the hood is actually machine generating SQL to be able to interact with this. So you can see I have a column here for total order amount. I'll go ahead and convert this to currency. We also have our first order and last order date. These are coming through initially as text. I'm going to go ahead and change the format to date, although it's not allowing me to do that there. Additionally, we can go and hit our transform button. So I'll go ahead and convert our first order date and our last order date to dates. And then from here, we can actually start to interact with this just like a spreadsheet. So say I wanted to understand what the difference was between the last order and first order date. You'll see some of these customers only have one order, so they're going to be the same, but we can start to understand this a little bit further and start to do the type of analysis we would in Excel. So I'll go ahead and type date in here. And if we do date diff, we'll choose day. And then our start's going to be our first order date. And then the end's going to be our last order date. And this is going to give us, a nice snapshot of what the difference is between the order dates. We can actually sort this if we wanted to as well. I'll just rename this column diff. We could add some conditional formatting here as well if we really wanted this to pop. So if I come in here, I can say color scale. So you can see this Digital House Corporation has the most orders. We can see that they've actually been customers with us for the longest period of time. As we start to interact with and understand this data further, we can also see that we have a mixture of both individuals and corporations here. And this is kind of denoted by this tax ID. I'm going to add one more column here to kind of help delineate between these two. We'll do a quick if statement. And then for our tax ID, I'm going to say if this equals null, this is a person. And then if it's not null, we're going to call this a corporation. So now we can actually give this a heading and say entity type. And from here, we can actually start to do some spreadsheet type pivot analysis. So I can go ahead and group on these. So when I group these, it brings them to the front. And then we can look at our total order amount. So we can actually see, based on these two different types of entities, who's ordering most of our product. We can also take a look at our order count. So we can see our corporations are ordering at a higher volume and also have more orders. Additionally, we can create calculations here. So let's say I want to understand kind of what our average order amount is based on entity type. I'll go ahead and create a calculation here. And we're going to do the same kind of thing as before. So you can see we're in our formula bar. I'll go ahead and do a quick average order here. The other part to point out here before we step into the visualization piece is we can actually see all of the aggregations and everything that's happening underneath the hood. So as I go and interact with this like a spreadsheet, I can see pretty much what's happening. So a lot of this is actually being calculated within the browser, but our initial query down to Databricks is here. So you can actually see how long it took for Sigma to render this versus how long it spent in the warehouse, and then what that results fetch time was. So here's our machine generated SQL. Additionally, we have all of our queries signed with this Sigma signature, which then allows further debugging. From here, we can go ahead, I'll just drag this up a little bit, and we can create a visualization off this. So let's say I want to build just a quick visual to help understand this. This is really helpful from a spreadsheet type interface, but say we need to put this in a report. I'll drag our entity type up here for color, and then we can actually add our values here. So now we get a nice chart of this. Additionally, we can also add some other visuals here to help this kind of pop and start to actually build out dashboards. What this allows is you don't necessarily need a BI developer to actually build this. So your traditional analyst and business user that wants to understand your data further can actually build their own reporting based on the data that's coming from DBT and Databricks. So I'll add one more quick visualization here. I'm just going to drag this over. We'll trim our space here. And then instead of having our grouping or our data be set up on that grouping, I'm actually going to go ahead and add all source columns. And from here, what we'd like to actually take a look at is based on our first order date. I'll drag this up to our x-axis, and we'll go by total order amount. So then this gives us kind of a picture over time how customers are ordering for their first order. This is obviously set up on day, but I can truncate this down to month to get a better picture and visual of this. During this demo, we've walked through being able to take data from Databricks, be able to process that through a DBT pipeline, and then finally analyze that data further within Sigma via Databricks Partner Connect. This is very powerful because it allows non-technical and business users access to this data in a way that previously they weren't able to interact with this. Thank you very much to Foundry for hosting, and we appreciate you watching this video.